Please ring your phone's call button for an important message. I kind of need you to speak to the captain before we go. Oh, okay. Sure.
My first job was at Harvard University, and I just enjoyed Harvard. I enjoyed Boston, loved it so much, had such a good time. I ended up working there for 4 years. And ever since Jen and I started dating, I was just telling her, we got to go up to see Boston. It's such a cool city. There's so many things to do, so many historic landmarks to see. I could show you around Harvard. And so we've been talking about it for, since we had started dating. And so it wasn't too hard to convince her. Let's go ahead and take a trip up there. Yeah, a few days in Boston, and then head on up to Maine, do some hiking, and just relax. So we booked a trip October 2020. The thing is I had a plan, but I was the only one that knew about that plan, and it all hinged on us making our flight to Boston. The problem is my wife is Brazilian. Her mother was born in Brazil. They don't do too well with schedules. So, all right, the plan was I was working and I was going to go ahead and meet Jen at her mom's house, and she and her sister were going to drive us to the airport. So, Boca Raton to Fort Lauderdale Airport. So, I ended up getting off work a little bit late, but I was still determined we had plenty of time to get to our flight. But I realized that Fort Lauderdale Airport is a lot further from her mom's house than I had anticipated. So I said, okay, as soon as I get to your mom's house, we need to leave. Like, please have them in the car, your bag pack. I'll just throw my bag in the car and we will go. So what happens? I get there and no one's to be seen. There's no bags in the car. I can't find anybody, so I run in the house. Her mom's getting ready. Sister's in the bathroom. Jen's upstairs. No one's ready. It's like, guys, we got to go. Like, if we're going to make the flight, if Jen and I are going to make the flight, we have to go right now. So I was pretty aggressive. And they ended up moving, not as quick as I wanted, because I was like, we're going to miss this flight. And my entire plan would be foiled.
Little fun fact, I am a very nervous flyer. Up until this point, I have been with Mark for almost 2.5 years at this point in October of 2020. So he knew I was a nervous flyer. And that day, he's of the personality where he always shows up at the last minute to board a flight. I like to be at the airport well ahead of time just to make sure. I guess I'm the paranoid one. He's just like, oh, whatever, let's just roll in whenever we roll in. So that day, Mark was very much, calling in and saying, we have to leave by this time. And I'm just like, why is he like in a rush? Like, he never cares this much about being on time for a flight, or not being a little bit early, I guess would be the best way to put it. And he gets there and no one's really ready. So he's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. We gotta go, we gotta go. We're running late. I'm like, oh my gosh, relax, dude. I don't like being under pressure when I'm about to get on a plane.
All right. So we're in the car. I am nervous that we're going to miss the flight, but also that my entire plan would be foiled. So we end up getting to the airport at the drop-off gate 28 minutes before the flight. Not much time. Fortunately, we had carry-on bags. Mom and sister are dropping us off, and I had a handwritten letter I had wrote ahead of time. It was a very personal letter to Jen's mom, asking her if I could marry her daughter. And to let me know. And so I handed that letter to her as we were, leaving the car. And I said, please open this right away, and let me know. So we run into the airport, get to the security line, and as we're at the security line at the Lauderdale airport, we can hear them calling our names. Last call, Mark Bresnahan and Jennifer Petrovich. So they were like, holy crap. We like looked at each other and we just like got through security and we ran to the gate. Fortunately, the terminal we were in, there wasn't too far from the gate, but we made it. And we get to the gate, and I asked the agent, is there any way I can go to the bathroom? And they said, not if you want to make the flight. So they're like, you can ask the stewardess inside if you can use the restroom. All right, so we're walking onto the plane, and step 2 of my plan goes into place. We're gonna make this flight, but I don't know if my plan's still gonna work because it involves other people, and I don't know if they're gonna be on board or not. So I had actually written out a letter. Okay, so keep in mind, this is October 2020. We are at the height of COVID. So my note asked if I could have the pilot do the proposal. And I had everything written out on what to say. And I would just simply get in the aisle and get on a knee, and our masks are still on and everything, and Jen would say yes, and that would be the end of the proposal. But unbeknownst to me, the plans changed. All right, so we're running onto the plane, and I see the steward. I'm like, I really need to go to the bathroom. Can I please go to the bathroom before we take off? He's like, okay, you got to make it quick though. He's like, leave your bag right here, and use the restroom right here. I was like, okay, we'll do. And then as I do that, I hand him a note, and his face turned like beet red within second, and I locked the door. So I knew he was going to read the note, but I just like, for that like few seconds, whatever was going through his head, like I was having some sort of demand or something like that. He was like, oh crap, my day is going to turn. So went to the bathroom and came out a minute later, and he had a much happier expression on his face, and he's like, what, I think we can make that happen.
Or we get back. Mark gets back to the seat with me, sits down, and the plane takes off. And as the plane takes off, I take my headphones out. I have them on my lap and everything, and I'm ready to put them on so I can just listen to music and kind of zone out. Because again, I don't like to fly. I fly, but I'm not a great flyer. And Mark is like, don't put on your headphones. I'm like, why not? And he goes, well, the pressure of the flight in your ears, it's gonna pop. And again, makes zero sense when you think about it, because everyone puts on headphones to listen to music, and there's never been an issue before. But again, I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, maybe something will happen. I don't know. I shouldn't put on my headphones. So I'm sitting there with Mark, and he's like, let me see your phone. And I'm like, why? He's like, you have really good quality phone. Let me look at it. It's an iPhone. I'm like, okay. So he's playing with my iPhone, and I'm not, again, looking much into what's going on. I'm just like, he's like, oh, let me take a video of you. Let me, take a photo of you. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. And we're flying, we're cruising. We reach cruising altitude. Ding. That's when like I start to feel comfortable on a flight, is when we reach that point. Ding. Okay, great. So I'm like, I'm gonna put on my headphones, and Mark's like, no, wait, just a little bit more. Let's play cards or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. And all of a sudden, I hear on the overhead.
Please ring your flight and call button for an important message.
I was expecting them to like do the announcement, as I had like indicated on my note that shortly after we got clearance, to making it to altitude, and seatbelt sign went off and that sort of thing, that they would do the announcement sometime around that period. But they ended up, saying, "Mark Bresnahan, would you please ring your call button?" So I rang the call button, and then went up, and at that point I really thought the captain was like wanted to talk to me and vet me and say, "Hey, is your girlfriend going to say yes?" Because it would be an awkward rest of flight if she doesn't. So I I walked up, and that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I was going to talk to the captain, and he was going to just say, "Hey," and ask me how I want the proposal done, and everything else like that. But different plans were in store.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? Where did he go? And I look back over my shoulder and I see one of the stewards, or whatever they're called, standing here smiling. And I'm like, wait a second. And I hear overhead, "Hello, this is Mark Bresnahan." And I think at this point, I'm starting to piece together that something big is happening, that he might be proposing to me.
I kind of need you to speak to the captain before we go. Oh, okay. Sure. How this works. Just hold this button down and just talk normally. It'll pick up your
So
voice.
lo and behold, I grabbed the phone to speak, and it wasn't the captain. It was the entire plane.
Hello, this is Mark Bresnahan. I didn't know it was going to be coming up on the speaker here, but I would like to ask the beautiful lady in 19 if she would travel around the world with me for the rest of my life. Awesome.
I know, me too. I think.
She said yes? She said yes!
I was talking to the entire plane, and the steward looks at me and he's like, "Go! Like this is your time." I'm like, "What? What?" So the proposal happened right then and there. I didn't. Oh my gosh! I wish I would have knew ahead of time that opportunity was even a possibility. I just didn't think it was even possible during COVID that I could get up and do that. But um, that was awesome. I might have had a couple more jokes prepared if I knew that was a possibility, but it was such a cool moment. Planned out a little bit, spontaneous, but incredible how Delta Airlines came through.
I kept thinking, wow, no one knows except for these people that we're engaged right now. Like my sister and my mom don't know. And those are the two, besides Mark, are the two most important people in my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they asked if we wanted wine and food. And they just brought us all this wine and food. And I didn't even remember I was on a plane at this point. It was a 4-hour flight and I was just on cloud nine. I'm engaged. Oh my gosh. And so what I didn't know is that Mark had texted my mom and he said, "Can I marry your daughter?" Text one. for yes, 2 for no, 3 for we need to talk about it. And so as I'm trying to figure out where they are, saying, "Hey, goodbye, we're taking off. I love you," and they're not responding, and I'm like, "Come on, I'm a nervous flyer, people." She's texting Mark, but we have no service, so the text isn't coming through. And so Mark's probably sweating bullets at this point, going, "Do I even propose to her because I'm not getting her mom's permission?" But ultimately, her text went through to him. She sent a emoji with a little heart saying, "Yes, of course." And I got the text message from her saying, "Safe travels." And they didn't know it was going to happen on the plane. They thought it was going to happen anytime between that point and Christmas. That's what the note said. Can I propose? I'm going to propose between now and Christmas. No one thought it was going to happen within like 45 minutes of that note being passed to my mom. So that was pretty cool.
The stewards on the flight were incredible, and the pilots and everything else. We were able to get up and take pictures in the cockpit after the flight. They had a whole party waiting for us of Delta Airlines employees as we came off the flight.
Congratulations! Surprise!
This has been the greatest day of my life.
As we came off the flight, greeting us at the gate. It was such a cool experience, and certainly one we will never forget.